Here we are then, everybody, back in the new studio once again, and today we're doing another tech review. And normally when we do tech reviews we're talking about things like new amps or cabinet heads or speakers or new guitars, for example. Today we're doing something a little bit different. It's probably the world's most expensive pick of all time. Now this is something by a company called BlueChip, and they have manufactured what they say is a pick that's made from some kind of self-lubricating material. I don't really understand how that could possibly work, but this is their signature, the BlueChip TAD40, which is there, look. Stick it in front of my face. That is the face of a pick. And this is their kind of signature model, so we're going to explore this today. Now, I was looking into this because John Mayer hilariously recommended to not use it because it was too expensive, even though it was awesome.
My pick, it's a BlueChip. Cannot endorse it because it's too expensive.
And I was very intrigued by that because it's about £35 to buy plus postage. So for me, I think it was £43 total. So I'll give you a little idea of what it sounds like. We'll play with a normal Tortex. At the moment, I've got this Tortex 0.73mm, which I've been using a lot recently. But just to give you, before we kind of dive into anything, just have a look at the comparison in terms of size. So you can see behind the yellow Tortex is this BlueChip pick, which is a lot wider. It has a lot bigger of an attack zone to the pick. So anyway, this is the yellow Tortex, which is something I use pretty much all the time, just to give you an idea of the sound that we're usually getting out of the guitar. Kind of classic, kind of standard. So now let's dive in with the BlueChip TAD40. What a catchy name. Something to mention before we kind of get underway is a lot of picks like the Tortex, if you look at them, if you really look at them sort of on a flat level, some of them have a little curve in. I don't know if that's just overuse, or sometimes if I leave them on top of the amp, they start to curve. So what can happen is that you have to make sure you're playing them the right way around because they're bent in a certain direction, and with the down pick it has to curve towards you. This has zero bend in at all. It's really, really flat. It feels quite thick. It feels like about 1mm. So it feels a lot thicker than this yellow Tortex. Also, something to worth noting is that it has like a beveled edge on it. I'm going to do a super close up here of the beveled edge, just so you can see what's going on. Right, let's launch into it then. This is the first time with the BlueChip. Here we go. Wow, I think that's the fastest I've ever been able to play with a pick, to be honest with you, right there, because it doesn't bend, it doesn't react. It has this beveled edge like I described, which means that when you play fast, it feels very easy. It's really cool. Do you know what? I was coming into this thinking, like, I don't know if you've seen any of my other reviews, but I'm normally quite cynical because I don't want beginners, even intermediate players, to spend loads of money on stuff they don't need, like dampeners and expensive picks are kind of right in my sweet spot for things that I think people shouldn't necessarily buy unless they're really, really good. You don't need expensive attachments to play guitar, and you especially don't need things that mask your own ability. But this is really good. This is awesome. It makes you feel like you can play. And I guess if you're a sort of intermediate or beginner level guitarist, it might take away some of the frustration that you might have when you're playing in the early days of learning guitar, which is always going to be a good thing. I suppose the only time that you're not going to want to use this is if you're a live player and you're playing gigs quite frequently. And you're finding, in gigs, you see guitar players chuck out the picks to the crowd. But you're not going to want to chuck out these bad boys unless you are John Mayer or somebody similar who might have a little bit more money than some of us. They will be, maybe happy to chuck out £35 picks here and there. But in that situation, if you're live, maybe you want to use something like this, the Dunlops. If you're practicing at home and you can invest in a pick that you think is going to last, and I think this one will last, it's not a bad investment, I would say. And I was all ready to slag off the wideness of it and the fact that it had a kind of wider attack point than the rest of it. But it's really good. It's really, really good. I would say that I can recommend it. Now, it's expensive. If you're in a live situation, don't throw them away. But if you're the sort of person who's practicing at home and you're finding the picking frustrating, this might solve a bit of your problem there. It might give you an extra 10, it feels like an extra 15% in terms of capacity to play quickly for me, which is remarkable, really. That's definitely the fastest I feel like I've ever been able to play. Interesting. So I'll definitely be going back to this in the next few weeks, but so far I can recommend the BlueChip TAD40 40. If you've used it before, let me know your thoughts. But yeah, thanks for checking out this tech review of the smallest bit almost of the guitar, apart from the screws maybe. But yeah, thanks for watching. Peace out, and we'll see you in a new video.